welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to use an Instant Pot, and we will be making pulled pork today. There's a couple of things that I really enjoy about using the Instant Pot. An Instant Pot is an electric pressure cooker. When people hear the term cooking by pressure, they get scared, they get intimidated. They think of those old-fashioned pressure cookers that had to go on the stove. They had heavy lids, heavy clamps. They were really dangerous to use and were known to have many disastrous kitchen accidents. The Instant Pot is nice because it's all electric and they have done all the work and safety mechanisms are all built in for you. So I'm going to start first by just showing you the pieces of the Instant Pot. It's very simple. The first is the heavy-duty lid. There is a steam valve there, and that will release the steam and help regulate the pressure. There is a seal here, a rubber gasket, and that is removable, and I recommend before and after each use that you remove the seal and wash it. The other component is the heavy-duty steel pot. This will tolerate all the pressure, and this is also dishwasher safe. I have a 6-quart one that is capable of holding 6 quarts, which I like and is big enough for our family. And then the other part is the actual pot itself. It is electric, so you just plug it in very simply. And then these are all of the controls. Several different variants: soup, poultry, meat stews, bean chili, saute, rice, and steam and slow cook. So this can also be used to replace your slow cooker. If you're used to crock potting, now a lot of times I will use this in place of a crock pot, just because I like some of the additional features that it offers. One of the best features that I really like is the ability to saute in here. And this is what I'm going to be demonstrating soon. The pot heats up just like you would a pot on the stove, and it eliminates one dish. I can think of a lot of dishes that are really good in the crock pot. One is chili, but it still requires 2 dirty dishes. One to brown the hamburger, and then you'll put it in the crock pot. Here, it's all done in one pot, so you do not need to wash any dishes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to push saute. The saute feature, it reverts to 30 minutes, which you will not need in a medium temperature. I find that temperature is absolutely perfect for browning and searing. So it will beep as soon as it starts, and it will begin to heat up. What I am going to do is I am going to make a pork loin today for dinner. And it will be pulled pork. You can use it on sandwiches, or you can just eat it plain. So I have what is approximately 2 pounds of boneless pork loin, bought at the grocery store, and then I like to put a rub on it. My rub is really simple. It is a half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, a half a teaspoon of paprika, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And I also put a pinch of cumin in there just because I like the flavor, but you don't need to. So I always start with the fat side up, and meanwhile our Instant Pot is getting hot and warming up. And then I always start with impeccably clean hands because I am going to be rubbing this in. I will sprinkle about half of the rub onto the top portion, and I will do exactly that. Rub it in. I will then flip it over, and then I will place the other half of the rub on here and then rub it in. Sometimes, if I have time, I like to put the rub on and let it soak into the meat for about an hour or two, but totally not necessary, completely up to you. Sometimes also what I like to do is I'll add like a half a teaspoon of sugar in here, and then it gets a really nice caramelization on there. So I believe that our Instant Pot is getting warm now. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use a little bit of olive oil just because that's what I have at home. And I'm going to put maybe a teaspoon or 2 in here just to kind of coat the bottom a little bit of the Instant Pot. So I can already see that the oil is starting to smoke, and therefore it is hot. So what I like about this is that it gives me the option to brown the outside of the meat, which then adds extra flavor, and you get a nice crust on the outside. When you put it all in the crock pot, it just sort of stews in there and it just gets really mushy. I like the extra flavor of being able to brown in the Instant Pot. So I will start fat side down, and we can already hear that it's sizzling. So while I'm letting this brown, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give you a brief overview of sort of why cooking with pressure reduces the length of time. If this meal were to be prepared in a crock pot, you would start it in the morning and it would have to cook for 6 to 8 hours on high in order for it to be tender, juicy, and fall apart. With a pressure cooker, the pressure does two things. First thing it does is it raises the boiling point of your liquid. And then that liquid, because it's in a sealed container, will generate steam. The steam then forces that liquid into the meat, which then causes all of that juicy tenderness. You are able to use cheaper cuts of meat, and they will come out nice, juicy, and tender. I mostly use this for chilies and large cuts of meat. Not a lot, and then they're nice because you always have leftovers for the next day, especially when time is a factor and we're all trying to be ready in a hurry. Another nice thing about this is that it has a feature that will then, after the cooking time is over, it will then revert back to warm. And it will continue to keep your meal warm for up to 20 hours. What I prefer about the temperature that it keeps warm, I prefer it better than the crock pot warm. When you turn a crock pot to warm, it's still almost too hot to eat, and I feel like it still is continuing to cook the meat. With the Instant Pot, the warm temperature keeps it above anything that's going to grow bacteria, but it also makes it so that way you can eat it. So I have nice smoke here, and I can hear my meat sizzling. So I am going to go ahead and pick it up with the tongs and just show you what you get. You get that nice brown caramelization of all the spices and seasonings, and you get a nice little glaze in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over just to cook the other side. Now, a few things that are necessary when you're using a pressure cooker. You have to have some type of liquid in order to generate that steam to build up the pressure. The manufacturer recommends at least 1 cup of liquid. For this particular recipe, I like to use apple cider and apple cider vinegar, and then just a little bit of barbecue sauce. I live in Michigan, and right now, apples are in season. There are cider mills and fresh apple cider everywhere, but you could use just regular apple juice. That's normally what I use in the other seasons. So I have my 1 cup measuring cup, and right now I've got it a little over 1/3 of a cup of the cider. And then I'm going to take my apple cider vinegar, and I'm just going to continue filling it up to the 1 cup mark. I like using the vinegar. I think it adds a little bit of extra acidity that also helps to break down the meat. And I know in a lot of barbecue recipes where they would, traditionally smoke a whole pig or smoke a roast or something like that, I know a lot of times they use a lot of vinegar in those recipes. And then I'll just take whatever little bit of barbecue sauce I have, not a whole lot, but just to sort of give it that barbecue flavor. And I'll just squirt maybe a tablespoon or 2 right into the liquid. Super easy, nothing to it. I believe we are almost finished caramelizing on one side here. So I am just going to take my tongs, and I'm just going to check that side. And that is absolutely perfect, and it looks good. So I am currently fat side up, and that is how I'm going to cook it in the pressure. I like to do it fat side up because then all the juices from the fat and everything continue to be forced into the meat. So I am currently still on saute. So I'm going to go ahead while I'm on saute, and I will pour my liquid in there. Now you may get some splashing and some steam right away, so just be careful and be aware of that. So in order to get it ready to set it to the pressure setting, I am going to go ahead and I am going to turn off cancel. This is going to cancel the saute mode. And then all I'm going to do to turn it back on is I am just going to go to manual. Manual is the pressure setting. It defaults to 10 minutes. I am going to adjust the time to more. And I am going to go all the way up to 55 minutes. That is just what I found in one recipe. So this will be 55 minutes once it comes to pressure. So to get it in order to transition over there, a couple of things need to happen. One is we need to put the lid on. So we're going to put the lid on, and it has a tight fitting lid, and you're going to hear that ding, and then you're going to hear that. And then now it is on. So the timer will not come back on until it builds to pressure. Now a couple of things may happen before it gets to pressure. You may hear some buzzing, some whistling. There may be some hot steam that comes out of this top port. That's okay. As long as your valve is sealed and into the sealed position, it is perfectly fine and perfectly safe Once it comes up to pressure, it will beep again, and then your timer will count down. After your timer is done, it will beep a few more times, and then it will revert to warm, and it will remain that way. Now, I will clean up my mess, and I will walk away, and then when I come home from work today, dinner will be ready. But like I said, if I was home preparing this meal, I could have it ready in 1 hour compared to it taking 6 hours if I did it elsewhere. Now, just be careful when you release this steam. If you've let it sit for several hours, you're fine. There's 2 ways to release the steam. One is a quick release, and the other is natural. Natural is just letting the pressure come down on the machine, and I'll always give the valve a little check just to make sure nothing comes out. The other is a quick release. Now, there's still going to be a lot of pressure in here. This is not going to let you pull the lid off. It's safety mechanism. So I will take like a long-handled spoon, and I will use that to push it to the venting mode, and some steam and some hot liquid will come out. So just be careful, stay back. But if you don't have time to wait the natural pressure reduce, it's perfectly acceptable to do it that way. And this, just to give you a quick review, is the Instant Pot, and I have demonstrated how to cook a pulled pork recipe in under 5 minutes, and it will be ready in 1 hour. Safe, easy to use, not intimidating at all. I really think that every household with working families, that this is a good product. Thank you. And there's my audience.